Greetings and welcome to another edition of AUHSD Future Talks. I'm your host, Michael Matsuda, the Superintendent of the Anaheim Union High School District. And as our 7,000 plus podcast listeners know, that this show is dedicated to the future of education for young people, not only in Anaheim, but young people across America. They're called Gen Zers. And today we have an amazing Gen Z young man headed to UC Berkeley, graduate of Western High School, former student ambassador. So he has a lot to say about students and the future of students in this great country. So Vasu Bagga, welcome to our show.
How are you guys? Thank you so much, Superintendent, for having me. My name is Vasu Bagga. I was introduced. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to be on this podcast today.
So we're going to start with just kind of getting right down to it. You as an ambassador, you were selected to not only be a spokesperson for Western and Orangeview students. Orangeview is a feeder junior high, but also students across our district, and especially those who are marginalized. So, and we've really spent a lot of time in this district emphasizing the importance of student voice and prompting democratic discussion and discourse. What are your takeaways, Vasu, as an ambassador? Do you think that the district is doing a pretty good job about student voice, and where can we improve?
Yes, sir. So my takeaways, I would say, for the Student Ambassador Program is that the Student Ambassador Program was obviously made to promote, like you said, democratic discourse, right? Promoting that our students have a voice in decision-making in our district, not only our district, but our schools, our community, right? We want to ensure that student voice is a priority in our school sites, right? So I would say my biggest takeaways as an individual, right, during my experience and my time serving my community and my site over at Western would be, I would say, two main things, right? Empathy and discipline. When I say empathy, I mean that the position allowed me to kind of encounter and come across a lot of students that I never would have had otherwise the opportunity to talk to, right? Kids from Kennedy, Hope, CVA, right? All those types of kids from coming all around the world, different stories, different experiences. And that kind of builds empathy within me, right? Empathy to learn their stories, learn their why. I think learning students' whys is something that we can improve as a district, right? So I had this conversation a couple of weeks back at our school redesign between Orangeview and Western. But I think learning students' whys and why they do something, or their stories behind who they are, their identity basically is very, very important, right? So I would say empathy, building empathy during my time as ambassador, right? Not only for myself, but kind of putting me into that reality of learning other students' stories. Another thing I would say, my biggest takeaway is discipline, right? Discipline to stick with your morals, but also standing up to what you believe is right, right? I'm very big on, like I said, student voice, right? The past, like I say, 2.5 years, I feel like a very good advocate for not only for myself, but my student body as a general. And I think student voice is something that we continue to do very good as a district. Can we improve on it? Yes, definitely, right? And expanding it to all circumstances, but it's something that for the past 5 to 6 years that we have generally done a very good. And this is one of many ways that we promote student voice, right? This podcast is the way to bring students, staff, administrators on and show, advocate what we're doing, right? This is it's a small puzzle of a bigger picture, right? So we're continuing to build student voice into our school sites, into our district, right? And a position like an ambassador is just one of many ways we incorporate student voice.
So, a lot of surrounding districts and other school systems are focused on, just traditional test scores. Our district is focused on student voice as well as development of what we call the whole child. Why do you think that is so important, especially now with so much discussion about the future of democracy? Why is this emphasis on student voice and student discourse so important as young people like yourself transition into voting citizens in adulthood?
Yes, sir. I think the democratic, look, we see in today's world, right, today's politics, democracy, that we're struggling as a country to find that common ground between political and non-political grounds. But that is what it comes back to, teaching our youth, right? Teaching our youth that it's very, very important to be civilized individuals, right? Having that voice and student voice, right? Speaking out for yourself, right? That's all relates to promoting that democratic discourse, right? Being able to speak for yourself. And you said later on, right, going into adulthood, it's very, very important to kind of know those and have those skills. So I think, right, compared to our district, I think we do a very good job, right? Like you said, we're not highly dependent on assessments. Right now, we're not sitting in a classroom and just doing tests all day, doing worksheets. We're actually trying to put our students into real life circumstances, internships, exposing them to those circumstances. And that's very, very important, right? Especially going into adulthood and being now in such a world where we're highly dependent on such things as AI, right? AI is a big factor coming into our curriculums. Our schools, and our lives, right? Our phones, our technology, it's evolving. It's ever evolving thing, right? So teaching our youth is something that I think we forget how truly important it is, but teaching our youth that being a democracy, right, coming together and being civilized individuals is much more important than we think.
I know sports has been a big factor in your development as a young adult. Could you be specific in what sport were you involved with, and what do you mean by that? How does it specifically help you develop into adulthood?
Yes, sir, definitely. So sports was honestly the one thing in my entire life that kind of gave me a reason to fight, gave me a reason that I felt like I belonged. So during my high school career, I played basketball. I did cross country track. I'm a 4-year varsity athlete, but basketball was one of my main sports my entire life. But basically, sports was a lot. It contributed a lot to my development, right? A lot to my development because it allowed me to feel like I belonged somewhere. It gave me a reason to go to school. It gave me a reason, even though I felt like I truly never fit, because the way I looked and coming from where I come from as a proud immigrant to the United States, the way I look and the language I speak, that language barrier, sports allowed me to kind of belong to or have a brotherhood, and that basketball gave me that at Western, right? And if I could share a really good example, it would be, obviously during my basketball career under a coach being Joseph Ohara. He's a very, very good coach. He's a Japanese American, and he's also teaches Japanese at Orangeview and Western High School. And so Coach Ohara was someone that taught our team discipline and resilience, right? Being a Japanese American, he incorporated a lot of his disciplines that were taught in his culture into our practices. Our environment was solely based on discipline, not only to learn how to respect ourselves, but our brothers, our opposing players, our coaches. That's something that I never stopped doing, right? Always replying with yes, sir, no, sir. And I think that's my biggest takeaways. It evolved a lot to my development because I learned to be a young man. We were treated like young men. And I feel like I advocate a lot for sports. Why? Because for a lot of students like myself, sports was our way out. It was our way to kind of have that group at school that kind of understanding who we are, right? So for me, sports was that was my way out.
Yeah, really good point. A lot of sports encompass what we call the 5 C's, and certainly allowing space of belonging for young people. Unfortunately, the whole district, in fact, all of Orange County is dealing with student declining enrollment, right? Based on it's just the demography, it's not enough babies being born, and it's very expensive to live here. So every district is losing students. And because of that, Western and Orangeview are consolidating. And we're spending a lot of time on this concept of school redesign for creating a 7 through 12 school. And what do you think is, from the student perspective, in fact, you were part of the retreat, you're part of the leadership group that's helping to redesign school experiences. So what are some of the takeaways that you have from this process, and what advice can you give, especially from the student perspective?
So my biggest takeaways, I would say, from the Western and Orangeview redesign process is that this redesign process was something that first, even like a student, and I could only imagine from the staff perspective, but it kind of felt like it was a mission, right? But now it feels like a compromise. It feels like there's actually hope that the 7 through 12 model is going to be much more successful than we truly envisioned before, right? So my biggest takeaways was that I think the 7 through 12 is going to be a future, right? I think this is only going to start with one school, and we're going to continue to expand. Why? Because I feel like this is the only way. This is a land of opportunities. truly how I imagine this redesign being. Is it's opportunities, right? Opportunities not only for our students but our staffs, but especially our youth, our 7th and 8th graders, a chance for them to be in a mature environment, that exposure to the internship, the clubs, and the overall much more mature environment. So I think this is just something that not only benefits our students, but I think it benefits that community, right? Attracting all those youth to come to our schools and come to our 7 through 12 model, and giving them that exposure and giving them all the resources they need to truly be successful, starting off at a younger age.
So more choices for the students, right?
Yes, sir.
More flexibility, more of this opportunities to apply problem solving and integrate that into schools, more opportunities for internships and getting school credit for that, more dual credit, and maybe putting students in an athletic cohort, with the same English teacher, the same history teacher, so relationships can continue to blossom, right? And young people could find that sense of belonging.
Exactly. So let's, like, for example, right, a 7th grader having the same teacher for maybe 3 to 4 years is a lot different than a student having a teacher for 1 year, right? It helps them develop. It helps them give them that one person to always go to. It's a support system that we're also building, not only physically but emotionally. We're giving them a support system. We're giving them that person, that 1 or 2 person that they feel comfortable to, right? Always going up to them when they need support, they need help, or maybe things might not be always, if they need that person to communicate with them, they have it, right? So we're building a support system for our students here.
You referenced earlier, kind of feeling like you're an outsider, not speaking English, coming from a different culture, country, and religion. Could you talk a little bit about your family and how that shaped you? And,
yes, sir.
And what, your perspective as a Sikh American Indian young man?
Yes, sir, definitely. So I'm actually a proud immigrant to the United States. Me and my family immigrated from Punjab, India, so north side of India, to the United States in 2007. I was actually born in India too. So when we immigrated here, I was about 1.5 years. So my family and me being an immigrant shaped my entire identity. Right. So more and more after the last 3 and 4 years, I've truly embraced my identity. I feel like I've got the opportunity, right? The experience of I gave me the opportunity to kind of embrace my identity. So I feel like me coming here and being an immigrant as a Sikh, right? A Sikh Punjabi, it gave me the opportunity to always have a why, right? I have a story, and that's why I continue to do everything I do, because I have a story, right? I want to be able to tell students that just come just from where I come from, right? Being immigrants and coming from where I come from, we have a story, right? I think as AUHSD, we do a beautiful job expressing on identity, diversity, and we're so diverse culturally and religiously. And I think we need to bring that up more upon our students, right? Being able to not feel that they're afraid of who they are, being able to voice who they are, right? So I'm very, very big on my identity and who I am. And when I see the larger issues, I think overall that were kind of found upon my family was, it's very, very hard coming from, from a country that, speaks one different language. It's very different than it is here, right? It's very different. And adapting here wasn't easy, right? But that always gave me a reason, because I know the struggles that not only I had to go to, but my family, my sisters, and that's what wants to make me that gave me a reason, especially in high school, because with the ambassador program and the internships and the people I were able to talk to, it gave me an opportunity to kind of not only voice my concerns, but gave me a reason to be successful, gave me a reason to fight. And that's why I'm forever grateful, because that's my identity, is who I am at the end of the day.
Yes. What do your parents think about your accomplishments as an ambassador, a shy kid, not speaking English, and then, finding, opportunity in playing basketball, but also, an opportunity of leadership, right? As a Sikh American here, now an ambassador and headed to Berkeley. What do your parents think about that?
My parents, it's a beautiful smile I see every day. For the last, I say, year, 2 years, it's like a continuous smile. It's worth $1 million. I wake up to it every day, so it's truly a blessing, right? I had a rough childhood, right? So now knowing that all the success I have, and this is just the beginning of it, because I know it is, but my parents are obviously very, very proud of me, and they've been supportive. That's the reason who I am today, because their support, and they continue to support me each and every day, and that's the reason why the young man I am today is that, because they supported me, right? Even when times got hard, they always never left my side. So that's why I'm very, very grateful to have them. But they're beyond proud of me.
So tell us a little bit about your aspirations at UC Berkeley. And congratulations to you again. That's awesome. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, as I continue to UC Berkeley, I obviously hope to continue to do the work I am today, right? So, the last 4 years of high school, I continued to, advocate not only for myself, but the people around me, expanding my knowledge. And I hope to continue to do that over at Berkeley, right? We have a very, very good strong advocacy system over at Berkeley. So I hopefully continue that. I want to attain my bachelor's in science and then obviously go to medical school to become a surgeon, specializing in orthopedics. That's always been one of my dream jobs, right? Obviously, I want to, being an immigrant, healthcare was always a very, very big step back for us, right? Access to healthcare. And when we went to doctor's office, right? I still remember when I was little going to doctor's office and that barrier between our language and not feeling like we had someone to really go to. And our healthcare system wasn't very strong, right? So that's why I've always been very frowned upon going to the medical field, was to, give back to my community and establish those strong foundations in my community. So I want to go to medical school after Berkeley, but hopefully at Berkeley, my aspirations, obtain my bachelor's degree, have a very successful 4 years at Berkeley, and continue to grow.
I did not know much about the Sikh religion until I was fortunate to go to India and see how much service is embedded in the religions and the
Exactly.
culture. So I would imagine that has a big impact on your decision.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes. Yeah. So we have a teaching in our religion. It's called seva. Basically, it's a selfless service without getting paid, without recognition, without anyone feeling like, oh, here's a thank you. It's just a selfless service that you do out of your willing heart. And I've always lived upon that. My parents teach it to me each and every day. So I'm continuing to build upon that. But my religion has truly shaped who I am today. And the young man I am today is all about my religion.
Tremendous story, Vasu. And the final exit question, Gen Z arguably is facing the most volatile future with climate change and, all this political divisiveness and access to healthcare for low-income people, access to affordable housing. What are your hopes for Generation Z?
My hopes for Generation Z is obviously, if I could say the biggest word of advice, I would say embrace diversity, embrace different viewpoints, embrace that someone may not have the same ideology as you, but have the respect out of yourself and the other person to kind of have a good conversation. I feel like a really good conversation of different viewpoints goes a long way. So I see that's my biggest hopes for Gen Z, right? Have an inclusive environment, an equitable conversation, right? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to us because we are the future, and Gen Z students have now more resources than ever, right? You see things like AI growing, right? So those resources are here to help us, right? So I feel like, technology is a really good resource, right? Instead of using technology, nowadays we see technology being used to, spread hate. These are the resources that we could be using to, better our environments, better ourselves. So obviously that's my biggest word of advice for Gen Z is that, embrace diversity. It's okay to be diverse and be different because that's what makes us who we are at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say that's true is that Gen Z. I mean, they are not, these young people are not interested in staying in a silo, right? Or staying in a bubble, right? They are embracing each other. And I think in order to solve these tremendous problems, they have to work together. So, Vasu, you are a great example of Gen Z, and best of luck to you at Berkeley. And congratulations once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.